enough about that one, because what we're here to learn about now is set play strategy session with Coach Charlie Muldoon. For those of you who don't have the pleasure of knowing Charlie or having played with him or seen him work, he is a longtime professional player. He's achieved a 6 goal handicap. What are you now, Charlie? Five? Five. He has, if you look at the tournaments that he has played in worldwide and won, they are, top tournaments all over the world. He also is somewhat unique among polo professionals in that he runs and has run a very number of successful polo programs for many years in the Washington, D.C. area. He is one of the Team USPA mentors, and as well as he was the coach of the U.S. team at the FIP World Championships in Argentina earlier this, well, I guess it's last year now. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Charlie Muldoon, and you're in good hands. Take it away, Charlie.
I don't know how good a hands you're in, but I'm here. Um, thank you for that nice introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, tonight, well, first of all, let me say thank you very much for inviting me to present and to try and help out any way I can for the players out there who are trying to learn this wild game. Um, and I'm glad that each one of you are actually playing this game because, as we all know, it's the best game in the world. And I always tell people, they ask me why do I do it, and I say, well, it's because it's more addictive than crack. So, anyways, with that said, let's move on to what we're here to do tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about strategies, and strategy in polo is probably the most important part of your game. I always say that there's the physical part and the mental part, and if your team is, if your team you're playing in a it doesn't matter if you're playing a 0-goal tournament or a 40-goal tournament. Whatever level you're playing, everybody's pretty much going to be on the same side physically, but it's the mental side that wins games, and that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. We're going to talk about the strategy and the mental side of strategy, and how you beat teams, how you win with that, and on all aspects of the game. But tonight we're going to focus on penalty fours, we're going to focus on penalty fives, and mostly we're going to focus on the knocking tonight, which is one of the most important plays you'll do because you take your defensive play and make it into an offensive play. So first, let me get this off the screen. Now, I hope you guys can bear with me a little bit as I use this system. This is new to me, so I'm going to do this. It didn't revert. Let me see what happened here. Let me try it again.
Don't forget to touch your screen.
Ah, you're right. Okay, see? I told you guys. I'm just learning how to do this. So what we're going to do is, and as I go through, Kim will hear some questions. You guys can stop me at any time if you have a question. I don't mind. Kim, please keep me under control here and on time frame too, because I'm very winded, so I can talk. And so the first thing we're going to do is I like to go through the first two of the penalty fours and penalty fives, and go through a little bit of strategy here. And let me just back up a little second. Now, in polo, like I keep saying, is that I say it's 20% physical and 80% mental. And when I coach that way, because at any level, teams are basically the same. You have, if you're playing in a 4-goal tournament and there's 2 4-goal teams, so the handicaps are, however the handicaps are going to be, you're going to have to match up and put players against players and see, try and get some mismatches going and do that. Now, how do you get that done? You don't get that done physically, you get that done mentally. You think about it. Your team has to come together and understand the strategy in which you're going to implement to make those mismatches happen, to make the team flow. And if you just show up at a game and 30 minutes before the game and go, hey, how you doing? How the kids? How this and that, blah blah, and you all jump on it. Oh, by the way, who am I covering? Who you covering? Blah blah. Nobody's going to know what's going on until about the 5th chuck or when everything's already over. So if you put 2 teams on the field and you go out there and one team has actually thought about it and concentrated and talked about it and spent an hour before the game doing this, and the other team just shows up, well, I would put the money on the team who actually talked about what they're going to do on knock-ins, what they're going to do on throw-in, what they're going to do on set plays defensively, what they're going to do on set plays offensively, all that. So that's all so important in polo because this is the hardest game you'll ever play. Not only just on the speed and everything, but it's because in the horse. Let's take the horse effect, of course, but that's the hardest part of it. But the strategy itself, the quickness, and the just the speed, and I keep talking about that. But because what you'll find in polo is that the transitions, the set plays, and the transitions are what win or loses games. So with that said, let's move on. Let's go to let's talk about the penalty 4 a little bit. And again, you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this offensive team. Okay. So the team taking the penalty 4. So I'm going to say that's the number 3. Now it doesn't matter who it is because it's just whoever's hitting the penalty shot. And depending on what level you're playing in, let's see the average polo. Let's say 6-goal polo. In this, and as the lower the level of the polo, okay, the more strategy there kind of has to be. In the higher level polo, let's say this is a 3, 4, 5, 6-goal player hitting this ball. Well, 9 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 100, I would tell them just hit it, put it down the pipe. Same thing in low-goal polo, but what's going to happen is in higher goal polo, well, your number 4, whoever's not hitting it, sort of the other player on, let's say, defense, will probably just line up out here somewhere. The other 2 players, will line up here. This player right here will line up with his horse's nose towards the goalpost, and this person sort of will line up with his butt to the goalpost, maybe at a little bit of an angle, facing out with their mallet out there. You want your mallet out here, making sure that if the ball does go on the ground, you can get to it, right? You can get it. You're trying to block that. And if the ball's on the ground going into the goal, you can make a hook on the player who's defending. In lower goal polo, lower level polo, let me get the eraser up here. Oh, sorry. I'm going to hit this eraser, guys. Excuse me. In lower level polo, what's going to happen is this player here that I put over here, and sorry. Here we go. And lower level polo, this player here, what I would do is I'd actually have this player starting here. And the reason for that is that, and we'll get to it, is that when this player here who's hitting the ball in lower level polo, let's say it's a 1-goal, 0-goal player, is hitting the ball, the percentages of them actually making a penalty 4 are down. So most of the time, if they hit it beyond the ground or a nice shot in there, it could be a nice, beautiful 60-yard shot, which they should be able to do, or even if it's a 40, 30-yard shot, because, again, a penalty shot is mental, okay? It's not physical. I'm going to explain that in a minute, and doing that, because most people get all excited and they mishit their penalties because they're not, they don't take deep breaths, don't relax, and don't just go with the flow, because there's all these players in front of them. And with that said, let me go ahead and make another color here. All right, let's say yellow. Perfect. And we'll go over here and we'll make this one. So if this is the offensive lineup, let's say the hitting the penalty shot, we'll go to the defensive. So in this, one player you want to have here, doesn't matter who it is, between the ball and the goal, with their mallet facing the ball, okay? And the horse going sort of, if it's north-south here, the horse going east-west, okay? Another player you want to have is out here, and this is a mental player. I call him mental player because this is mentally telling this player who's hitting the ball, well, if you tap, I've got you, okay? So you're basically mentally trying to make this player hit it, make a lower percentage shot, which is hitting a penalty shot. All right, for the higher goal players, it's supposed to be higher. It's supposed to be pretty automatic, but for lower level players, it's supposed to be low percentage. All right, the other 2 players are in here, and what I like to do is as this player is coming around to hit that penalty shot, and they are going there. What I love to do is I like to tell my players to line up sort of sideways, sort of putting both horses blocking that whole goal. So the last thing they visually see before they put their head down to hit that ball is that the goal is totally blocked, so that they actually feel that they have to hit the ball over everybody here. So this player here, who's at the 30, is actually, a mental as well, but it's more of a physical too, because that ball has a little bit higher chance of hitting them than it does these people. And then as soon as this player puts his head down, his or her head down, these players can then adjust themselves to kind of maybe face forward towards that ball. Now, let me give you a couple of scenarios. This player hits the ball down to here, and I'm going to get a line here, guys. Again, let's see. So let me grab another color. All right, come over here. There we go. We got white. So this player hits this ball, and it goes like this. Okay, it goes here. Boom. Okay. So what this player's job is as this player is coming to hit this ball, and this player will time it so it's heading towards the goal. Most likely it's going to hit to the left post. As they see that ball rolling, they're going to come in like that. Okay. Now they got the next play. They're allowed to tap the ball into the goal and make a play there. This player here will end up staying on the goal there, and this player will move into the goal more. This player's job is to move over and get a little bit more to make sure if that player taps it again, they can get on that line. But the problem with this is these players are kind of dead. And this other player over here's job is to foresee that and come in and make a play. Okay. And that's what I'm talking about, the lower level polo, where a ball will go will go on the ground or do that. I tell people in this situation, the red team, they always say, should I dribble, should I hit? My whole theory and thing is put it down the pipe, man. You should just throw it down in there and do the best you can. That's why you practice. That's why you stick and ball. That's why you do. That's why penalty shots are so important. Is you put the ball down in the pipe. You hit it down there the best you can. And if your teammates are doing their jobs, because this player right here, can come out and fall on that line. Okay, another thing. So same thing if the ball goes over here, on this side. That's why I do that. This player can get on the line here too. All right, and make a back shot in or whatever. So I hope I'm not confusing two people in this first play, because I kind of got lost in a little thought here. But as you see it, I'm going to revert it real quick. Actually, let me erase it. Erase this here. Erasing. Oh. Anyways, the biggest thing about this is that on these plays, and that's why I kind of, everybody asks about strategy on penalty fours and different, penalty shots within the 60-yard line. My whole theory of this is that you are trying just basically get it down there and get it in the goal. Okay. So let's go back to the white. Let's go back to the paintbrush. There we go. All right. So again, as this player, let me just put this here real quick. Oops. Again, I'm sorry, guys, if I'm messing up on this technology here, but I'm.
It's all right, Charlie. We didn't hire you for your artistic ability.
That's right. So again, so if you are the hitter, okay, and knowing what you can do, it's like Clint Eastwood said, a man's going to know his own limitations. So you need to be able to know. You need to know what you can and can't do on this. What your average shot is. It's like when you play golf, you don't take out a 5-iron to hit what you would usually hit with a 3-iron. So it's the same idea here mentally. Is that okay? I know I can hit the 3s and the 2s and the 3s really well, but when I get to the 4s, it's most likely going to go 50 yards. Okay, well then your teammates need to know that. So then you're going to start placing the ball. Like I was saying before, you need to place the ball here. You need to place the ball here. You need to hit it to where your teammates can get on it and make a shot to goal. All that. And like I said, higher goal polo, it's pretty simple. Put it in the goal, right? Shoot it, make a penalty shot. Take your chances. These guys are here as safety valves, the red players, but that's about it. As far as the yellow goes, this player here is your defender. If the ball goes here, your player is the defender, but you have to watch this player here coming out. And same thing over here. If this ball comes over here, this is the defender who's going to go out, but you have to watch this red player over here, okay, on this side. So, like I said, pretty much there's not too much strategy on a penalty 4. It's just basically put it down the pike and try and hit it. And again, for the hitter, I would say as you're canning around, it's all mental. Okay, don't let everything in front of you mess you up. Look past the goal, see a spot you want to hit it to, and then just go up to it, look back at the ball, and hit it there. Besides that, I can't really give too much advice. The only other advice I would say is go home and practice, because these are, they're tough, but anybody can hit a penalty 4, and I've proven it and proven it and proven it. The guy who really proved it to me was Joe Barry. So he told me he could take anybody and hit a penalty 4, and he showed me one day. He took one of my buddies who wasn't a very good player and made him hit a perfect penalty 4. So, but anybody can hit him if they practice them correctly. So let's move on to
Before you
first of all,
do,
any questions on
yeah,
this?
before you do, Charlie, one question for you. Yesterday we were talking about what happens when the ball kind of dies in front of the goal, and the 2 reds on the outsides of the post actually taking the yellow men inside the post. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, if a lot of times what happens is when a ball, like you said, dies and it's coming in. I mean, if the ball comes here, let's say the ball does come here, what I would tell my players is that if the ball's dead there and I know this other red player over here, the number 4 or number 3, whoever is going to be coming down that line is going to do it, I'd actually ask my players to come in and take this yellow player, try and take them out. Same thing, try and host these, hold these 2 players in here. Maybe this player come in. I know it's clouding the goal area, but if this player is smart enough, he can, come in and dribble in and then make a little half shot into the goal. Same thing if the ball gets down here and in here, these 2 players need to come in and make plays. And a lot of times you'll find in polo, and I've played every level of polo, and it's happened at every level, that there's probably a couple fouls going to happen in here. The umpires most likely are, a lot of times don't blow them because the fouls aren't dangerous and they're not that, the line's not exactly, it gets a little snake killing and it's not exactly visual to an umpire who's standing here and an umpire who's standing here. And with all the people in front there, they're kind of letting it go unless they see something really bad. Then they'll blow it. So, yes, these 2 players, when that ball comes down and they see that other players getting it, they need to come in here and make a little bit of a crash, or however you want to say it, but to get a hold of these 2 players here and get them out of that goal post. Either try and push them away, open it up, do whatever they do, but hold them so that this player has a little one-on-one with somebody. Does that explain a little bit?
It does. We've got a couple questions.
Okay.
One question is, when you're standing in goal defending,
Yes.
do you swing at an incoming ball or just put your mallet down to stop it?
Hit it. I would say, don't try and kill it, but swing at it. It depends also. I mean, if the ball's bouncing, the ball's whatever, and if the ball's coming at you, I would just say take a nice slow swing at it and try and make connection. If you just put your mallet down there, a lot of times the ball will bounce off, bounce because it has momentum, right? So you have to counter the momentum coming at you, the momentum going towards it, right? Every action has an equal opposite reaction, right? Whatever they want to say. So if you have no momentum and you hit it, you just put it there, the ball either bounce off your cane, go in, bounce, it has to go somewhere. So hit the, nice slow swing towards it. You don't have to kill it. Just nice slow swing towards it. It's like when you're galloping down the field, you want to hit a bouncing ball. You don't stab at it, you hit through it. And it's the same idea. Just put your head down, watch that ball, and just connect with it.
Okay. And we have another question. Alexander, who's actually on the call from Chile, wants to know, are you still allowed to dribble penalty 4s in the U.S.?
Yes, you are, but you cannot. Once you start dribbling, you have to continue dribbling, which means that no time you take a full swing. You can take almost a half swing, but it's a dribble. Any time the umpire feels you've put the other players in danger with a hit, then they will blow the whistle. But you're not allowed to take a full swing after you dribble.
Okay, that's it
All
for
right.
now.
All
If
right,
anyone
good.
has any other questions for Charlie, feel free to type them in as we go along, and I'll pass them along.
Good. All right. So let's talk about a penalty five. There are a few strategies on penalty fives. I'm a speed freak, so I like to do things where you go a little faster and you make the other team a little bit nervous. But there's many different types of what I would say teams how they set up for offense and defense. We'll set the offense up here first. So I'm gonna, there you go, and let's say that's the hitter. What I like to do is I like to have this here, maybe this about here, and then we'll put another one back here because we'll set it up for a little bit lower level. All right, so that's the red team. Let's just say they're going with the conventional 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason I set them up here is that when this player hits the ball, I want these players. This isn't where they're going to be when he hits the ball. This is where they're going to start, or they're going to be they're going to be close, depending on what he's going to do. If it's a one-hit play, so this is where you get a lot of teams off. You can hopefully get a mismatch, hopefully get the ball to where one of your teammates can get a hold of it, and so I like to have the player start closer and then run towards goal, and you're going to go first player go, second player go, third player go, and everybody's basically running towards this left post if that's the play. If you're going to hit it down the pike, if you have a player here that can put it in this area here, within this area, anywhere from the 40-yard in, well, that's a 110-yard shot. So that's pretty good. Most of the time, players are going to be able to put it in here, okay? And that's anywhere that's like a 100-yard shot. If you have a two-goal player can hit it down here pretty easily if they practice. If they again stick and ball, it's all about practice. It's all about what you can do. People don't practice penalty fives a lot. I used to sit with Eduardo Hagee, and this is what we used to practice: putting the ball from here to here. That was the whole idea. Put it in this area, past the 40. So that's what we used to do. But if you have a hitter that can hit it down here into this area, great. In this play, this is what I like to do, because most of the time, this is how conventional players will line up. They have a player who's going to go against the hitter, and then most of the people will kind of linger down here and wait. And because they have to be outside the 30, so they'll kind of linger depending on where they are. They'll probably look here, looking at that player. This player is waiting for this player here. This player is waiting for this player here. And if this player is smart, this player will wait sort of here for this player. What I want to happen here, I'm going to go back to we'll go white here. What I want to happen here is I want this player, let's say he can't get through and this player is actually good. Well, I want this player to draw this, oops, shoot. I messed up there.
That's all right. Command Z will do it.
Command Z?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to click?
Nope.
No.
All right.
Command Z? No.
Should have, but it didn't. Sorry.
All right. That's all right. Let me just erase this. All right. All right. That's good enough for now. We'll go to here. What I want these players to do is, as this player is coming up to the ball here and getting ready to hit, they have to time it. It's all about timing. So if this player is smart, if the yellow player is smart and is there, the red player's job is to get by them, get by this player. Okay. So either A, if they find the first couple times or the first time they can't get by him and they try and get down here and that yellow gets a hold of them and pushes them out here or keeps them to that side, and runs down there. So when the ball is hit, this yellow player can get the back shot, or it gets there. Just really can't. That's a mismatch. What I would tell this red player is to run to this side. And what that does is that yellow player would go with them, and it puts the yellow player on the offside, on the near side. Lesser percentage play, which would allow, if everything all works out, allowing for this player who should be able to get down here, okay, with the idea that this ball is being hit down to here, right? Let's just say there, right? Get down there. And then this player, same thing. Depending on what this yellow player does in that motion, if you're in motion, you can most likely get past him. But if you have to come here, so I hope you guys see what's happening here. If you have to make that sacrifice and go there, then what have I just done? I've actually allowed my number 2 player here to be the one who's going to be going to that ball. Does everybody understand that? I mean, please chime in if I'm not making sense here. Okay, if you don't,
I will.
Want to there.
Yep.
It's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this team, this red team, to get one player who's going to make the next play. Okay, and it's all about sacrifice. Now, if depending on how this yellow team lines up is how you're going to do it. You have to understand the team you're playing against. So if you've never played against this team, never seen a video of them, you're going to do just one down the pike and see how they line up. So, but if I'm this player, the number 3, I'm basically saying, okay, this player's lined up to where I have to take them with me, get them on my hip, and my next play is going to be the near side. This player sees this player here, I can get them on my hip, and I'm going to the offside. And the number 1 moving is going to take this player somewhere out of the play. Basically, you're trying to open up this hole for my other 2 players to go down there. Now, if this player if the red player, number 4, can get it down in there into the 40s and 30s, well, this number 1's job is to start running and try and get to there, pushing the play and making pressure on whoever's back there if they're going to be able to get to a back shot and putting the pressure on them so that their back shot's not great.
Sorry, Charlie. So let me just see if I got this, and I can summarize for everybody else if I got it right. So Dale Smiklis always talks about how polo's a lot like basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And in basketball, it's all about getting your, the playmaker open to be able to make a shot. Yep. So as I understood what you just said there, that 1 is going to take his opponent if he can't get by him to the far right, so he's out of the play. The 3 is going to take his guy far right, so he's out of the play. So that they have basically opened the field up for the number 2 to be able to jump on that line and take that shot. So it's all about getting somebody a good play, and you're thinking about that in advance, which is what's unique.
Yeah, you're the whole team. Sorry, and I guess I'm going a little fast on this, but on every set play we're going to talk about is that on offense, your job, the whole team's job is to get the ball to somebody, whoever that is. And if you always want to try and find that mismatch, that's the best play you can do. You get a 3-goaler with a 0. You get a 5-goaler with a 2. You get something like that. Even if it's 2 equal players, but you get a player who's on a slow, a fast horse against somebody on a slow horse, or somebody's on a fresh horse on a tired horse. Those little mismatches win games because if we all know, if everybody knows that, okay, there's a one-on-one right here with their number 2 against their number 3, we know that number 2 is 9 times out of 10 going to get past that number 3. That's great. Now, another thing we can do is, because say these players are all pretty tightened up on everybody, right? And they see it. Well, we still send the number 1 down here. We still send the number 2 down here, and you do a keeper where this number 3 slides over here and creates a little bit of a block right here. Now, what's going to happen is 9 times out of 10, until it might work once, it might work twice. I've seen it work 3 times against a team. This player right here will end up going with the red player over to here, and by that time it's too late because our red player, this red player here, is going to be heading left with the ball. And by the time, if these other red players do their job, like this red player is going to come here, this red player is going to come here, right? Like we just talked about. We're actually going to head that way with this yellow player. This red player is heading over here. Sorry, this yellow player is going over, so he's actually taking 2 out. And then this player has to be able to come in and run like this and keep that yellow player on his right side. So now this whole area over here is wide open for this red player to run down, and he's going to get 1, maybe 2 shots before he has to make a shot on goal. That's a little bit of a fast break play. Okay? Let me revert this real quick.
But none of this happens magically, and that's sort of the key you were referring to earlier. This all has to be planned in advance. So how do people know what play is going to take place?
Well, the biggest thing is I'll tell you about one gentleman who's probably one of the winningest. He's won more U.S. Opens than anybody in history. He's done everything. Was Memo Garcia. Memo Garcia was a great polo player. Let's put it that way. He was 10 goals, but he was 15 goals in strategy. And because everything from what players were going to be on the field, he picked players way ahead of time, knowing their abilities and how they brought a team together, to the horses each player was going to play prior to the game. I mean, when I played for him, we knew, man, it was amazing. You knew what horses were going to what's everybody. Up to he would be changing it daily on oh, that horse not going well for that person. This horse is better for that person. Blah blah blah. To the set plays, and you would have to know. And we had team meeting after team meeting after team meeting. So that it's sort of like any sport. If you ever watch a football team, they'll do 43 dive 20 times so that everybody understands their assignments. How they block and how they do everything. So it's the same thing here. You have to talk about it. Now, the average polo in America, people don't have time to show up and practice and do this and spend 6 hours a day doing it. But they do have time to show up an hour before a game and sit down with a whiteboard and talk about it. Make sure everybody is on the same page, so that when one of these plays happens, they can just all they have to have is in lower level polo 1 or 2 plays, 1 or 2 set plays on this on this penalty 5, where they all you have time on a penalty 5. They throw the ball down, the umpire's teeing up. You have time. Hey guys, let's do number 2. Okay, great. And we all know we're going to run up and do number 2 now. Sounds corny, but it works. Same thing. Let's try number 1. And in lower level polo, most teams, the other team won't know how to react. It'll take them time to react. Even in high goal polo, it takes time for teams to react. To your changes or to your plays, or tend to actually understand what you're trying to do, and doing that. So, like on this penalty 5 again, if we go back to what we were talking about before, and where we have the reds lining up here, I'm going to show you another one that I kind of like doing, but where everybody's sort of lining up back here, and I'm just going to show you what they do. Is just you line it up back here. Let's say this is where the 30-yard marker is right here. I'm just going to put that where somebody's 30 yards. This confuses the heck out of most teams because they can't go mark their players. What happens in most polls